They told you women fall in love with flowers, dates, sweet words, and well-timed gifts. They told you that being romantic is the key to her heart. But they lied. The truth is much deeper and much more powerful. Women don't fall in love with logic. They don't fall in love with what makes sense. They fall in love with what they can't control. This video is not about manipulation. It's about understanding. Because once you see what truly attracts a woman's heart, you'll never waste time chasing illusions again. Real love isn't born in comfort. It's born in tension, in mystery, in the silent power of a man who knows himself. You see, Stoicism is not emotional coldness. It's emotional mastery. It's not about ignoring her. It's about not needing her. It's about standing so still in your truth that she feels your presence before you even speak. And the paradox is this: the more detached you are from needing her love, the more deeply she'll crave yours. This is why the most magnetic men are the ones who remain untouchable. They are not trying to be loved. They are becoming someone love can't ignore. This video reveals the 10 silent forces that make a woman fall, not for the man who tries hard, but for the man who doesn't have to try at all. If you want to become unforgettable, stop trying to be needed. The truth is brutal, but liberating. The moment a woman feels that you need her to feel whole, she starts to withdraw. Not because she's cruel, but because the feminine is drawn to strength, not dependence. A Stoic man doesn't build his life around a woman. He builds his life around purpose. His mission comes first, his principles guide him, and his sense of worth is untouched by anyone else's presence. That's why she falls, not because he begged, not because he chased, but because he stood in quiet power, completely fulfilled, completely centered without her. You see, when a woman senses that you're emotionally self-sufficient, she feels free to admire you. She may not say it out loud, but subconsciously she recognizes something rare. You're not like the others. The others orbit around her. You orbit around something higher, and in doing so, you become the gravitational force. She begins to wonder, why doesn't he need me? What is he focused on that's more important than me? That curiosity grows into attraction. The more she sees that your world doesn't collapse without her, the more she desires to be a part of it. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means having a life so full that love becomes a bonus, not a rescue. It means living in abundance, not in lack. It means your sense of joy, confidence, and peace already exists. She doesn't have to bring it to you. This is why Stoicism is magnetic, because the Stoic man is not hungry for affection. He's not desperate for company. He walks with quiet conviction, and in a world full of men who chase, the man who doesn't need her becomes the one she can't stop thinking about. She might even try harder. She might lean in. She might question why she's falling, but she will feel it. Because a man who doesn't need her is often the one she wants most. Comfort is not where desire lives. In relationships, many men believe that by making a woman feel constantly safe, validated, and adored, they'll win her love. But in truth, what keeps her heart racing is emotional tension, not predictability. This doesn't mean chaos. It doesn't mean mind games or manipulation. It means being unshakable, even when things get uncertain. It means allowing space between words. It means not rushing to fix every silence. Emotional tension is the space where curiosity, excitement, and even obsession are born. Stoic men don't eliminate this tension. They harness it. They know how to hold back just enough to leave something unsaid. They know that mystery needs room to breathe. They don't suffocate her with attention. They let her feel the weight of their presence, even in absence. Think of it like music. It's not just the notes that matter. It's the pauses between them. Those silences, they build anticipation. The same applies in attraction. If you're too available, too predictable, too eager to please, she doesn't feel the pull. She feels the comfort, and comfort rarely creates longing. But when a man shows restraint, when he listens more than he speaks, when he stays composed in moments of pressure, when he doesn't rush to fill the silence. That tension builds. She leans in, she wonders, she feels. It's in this uncertainty, this subtle dance of presence and restraint, that desire thrives. A Stoic man doesn't rush connection. He knows that letting things unfold naturally, letting her invest emotionally, letting her reach a little, is what creates depth. And here's the paradox. The less you chase her emotions, the more she feels them for you. That's the power of emotional tension. It's not about chaos, it's about control. Your control. And that is where attraction begins to burn. The more she knows, the less she wonders. And once she stops wondering, she stops feeling. Mystery is not deception. It's a form of emotional power. It creates a mental gap she wants to fill over and over again. Women don't fall for men who are obvious. They fall for the ones they can't quite figure out, the ones whose silence feels intentional, the ones whose eyes say more than their words, the ones who speak less and are felt more. A Stoic man doesn't rush to reveal himself. He understands that every piece of himself is valuable, and he doesn't hand that out for free. He allows her to earn insight into who he is, not because he's hiding anything, but because he values his depth too much to give it away easily. This slow reveal is magnetic. It creates a loop in her mind. Who is he, really? Why can't I read him? What is he thinking? And every time she asks those questions, her emotional attachment deepens. Mystery isn't about being distant, it's about being layered. She senses there's more to you. She senses you're not performing. You're simply being unapologetically. And in a world of oversharers, overtexters, and emotional overexposure, the man who remains a riddle is irresistible. Here's the key. You don't need to tell her everything. You need to live everything. Let your actions carry more meaning than your explanations. Show her you're grounded, that your purpose runs deep. Show her you can sit in silence without discomfort, that your presence is enough. Because when she has to search for the meaning in your gestures, when she has to guess what you're feeling, when she feels the gap between what she sees and what she feels, she doesn't just get interested, she gets obsessed. And obsession is not born from excess, it's born from restraint. Mystery is the art of holding back what most men can't. And when you master that art, you don't just attract her, you haunt her thoughts. In a world full of noise, the calm man commands the most attention. Masculine calm is not passive, it's presence under pressure, it's stillness in storms, and it's one of the most powerful forces that lowers a woman's defenses. Why? Because the feminine is often a whirlwind of emotion, thought, intuition, and sensitivity. When she meets chaos with chaos, she drowns. But when she meets chaos with calm, she melts. A Stoic man doesn't match energy, he grounds it. While others get defensive, raise their voices, or overreact, he remains composed, rooted, unmoved. And in that calm, she finds safety. Not just physical safety, but emotional permission to let go, to feel, to cry, to soften, to be vulnerable. She feels it in the way he listens without interrupting, in the way he holds eye contact without flinching, in the way he speaks without rushing, in the way he breathes when she's unraveling. He's not trying to fix her, he's not trying to control her. He's simply there, fully, unshakably there. That's rare, that's powerful, that's magnetic, because most men either avoid her emotions or they become consumed by them. The Stoic man does neither. He holds the space without losing himself. This creates trust, not surface-level trust, but soul-level trust. She may not be able to explain it, she just feels safe in his energy. And once a woman feels emotionally safe, she lets her walls fall. She lets her defenses down. She allows love in. Here's what most don't understand. It's not money, looks, or status that creates emotional impact. It's stillness that says, I won't be moved by the chaos. I won't be baited into reaction. I lead, not with force, but with presence. That kind of man. He's not just remembered, he's trusted. And trust is the seed of deep connection. Once planted, it grows into something she can't forget. Most men make the mistake of thinking that vulnerability is how you earn a woman's heart. They open up too quickly. They overshare. They give her the keys to their inner world before she's even asked for them. And then they wonder why she pulls away. The truth is simple. What is given too easily is rarely valued. Women don't fall for men who spill everything. They fall for men who value their inner world so deeply that access to it feels like a reward. A stoic man doesn't hide. He withholds with intention. He understands that intimacy is not about dumping your thoughts and feelings on someone. It's about creating depth through earned connection. You don't owe anyone instant access to your mind, your story, or your scars. She must show she's worthy of hearing them. Not because you're arrogant, but because your life is meaningful. You've worked too hard on your discipline, your mission, your growth, to let someone walk in without proving they belong there. And here's what happens when she earns it. She feels chosen. She feels trusted. She feels like she unlocked something that others couldn't. That creates emotional investment. Don't confuse physical closeness with emotional depth. True intimacy isn't about how quickly she gets into your bed. It's about how slowly she earns your mind. Let her reach you. Let her prove that she's aligned with your standards. Let her wonder what lies beneath your surface. Because when a woman earns a piece of you, she values it 10 times more. And once she feels she's earned it, she will protect it. She will fight for it. She will fall. Confidence is magnetic. But confidence without the need for validation, that's rare, that's powerful, that's stoic. Most men don't realize that their confidence is often just a performance. It's loud, it's exaggerated, it's a cry for attention. They want to be seen, not because they're secure, but because they're afraid of being invisible. But true confidence, the kind that pulls people in without saying a word, comes from within. A stoic man walks into a room and doesn't need to be noticed. He's not checking for reactions. He's not trying to impress. He's anchored in who he is. That internal stability is what makes women turn their heads, not because he's flashy, but because he's real. He knows who he is. He knows what he values. He's not shaken by rejection. He's not inflated by praise. That's the difference. The man who needs approval becomes a puppet, pulled by opinions, shaped by attention. But the stoic man is free. Freedom is attractive. Security is sexy. Because when you don't need her to tell you who you are, you allow her to discover who you are, on her own. And here's the paradox again. The moment you stop chasing her validation, she starts chasing yours. Why? Because it signals something ancient. Strength, leadership, dominance of the self. It tells her, I'm not here to be chosen. I am the chooser. And nothing compels the feminine more than a man who knows his worth without needing to prove it. This isn't arrogance. It's alignment. Confidence rooted in silence, in presence, in principle. Confidence that doesn't shout. Confidence that simply is. And when you master that, you stop trying to win her, and she starts trying to win you. Most men are trying to impress. They tell jokes. They flash status. They rehearse clever lines, all in an effort to be liked. But here's what they don't understand. Women don't fall for performance. They fall for presence. When a man is fully present, she feels it in her nervous system. She feels seen. Not as an object, not as a conquest, but as a woman. Presence is when you're with her, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and energetically. It's in the way you listen without distraction. It's in the way you observe details, her tone, her eyes, her silence. It's in the way you don't rush to reply, but respond with intention. That kind of presence is rare, because most men aren't really there. They're thinking of what to say next. They're planning their next move. They're locked in their own performance, trying to impress someone they haven't truly noticed. But the stoic man is different. He brings stillness to the room. He doesn't need to entertain her. He doesn't need to perform. He just is, and that's more than enough. And when she feels that presence, she opens up. She lowers her guard because she knows she's not being played. She's being witnessed. It's not about doing more. It's about being more, aware, grounded, and intentional. Performance fades, presence lingers, and the man who masters it is never forgotten. Silence isn't emptiness. Silence is pressure. Silence is power. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, the man who knows when not to speak is the one who stands out. Most men try to persuade. They talk too much. They explain, justify, chase. They think words will earn love. But the Stoic man understands something deeper. Silence often says more than speech ever could. When you choose silence, intentional, grounded silence, you send a message. I don't need to convince you. I know who I am. I don't argue for my worth. And that unshakable stillness creates tension, the right kind. The kind that makes her lean in, that makes her wonder what you're thinking, that makes her feel more than your words could ever make her understand. Silence gives space. Space to feel. Space to think. Space to want. It's not about being cold. It's about being composed, being selective, letting your actions speak louder and your energy speak volumes. A man who uses silence wisely doesn't need to win every conversation. He lets things land. He lets her question. He lets her chase the meaning behind the quiet. And often that's when she feels the most. Because silence, when wielded with discipline, becomes a weapon, not to harm, but to command. And the man who commands without speaking, he doesn't need to demand respect. He becomes it. She doesn't fall for the man who says yes to everything. She falls for the man who knows when to say no. Why? Because standards reveal self-respect. And self-respect reveals value. When you have clear boundaries, emotional, physical, relational, you show her you're not available to just anyone. You're selective, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. A Stoic man doesn't bend just to avoid conflict. He doesn't agree to avoid discomfort. He doesn't chase someone who disrespects his principles. Instead, he draws a line, and when it's crossed, he walks, without drama, without neediness, without noise. That restraint, that discipline, that refusal to settle, that's what creates desire. Because deep down, she wants a man who values himself more than he values her attention. She wants a man whose standards challenge her to rise, a man whose no means something, a man whose yes is earned. Without standards, you become forgettable. With standards, you become irreplaceable. This doesn't mean being rigid or controlling. It means being intentional about what you allow, who you give your time to, and what you tolerate. And here's the secret. When she sees that you have standards for yourself, she begins to adopt them. She begins to respect them. She begins to desire the man who lives by them, because a man who won't break his code for anyone is the man worth chasing. The most unforgettable man in a woman's life is not the one who stayed at all costs. It's the one who could have stayed, but was strong enough to walk away. This kind of man leaves a mark. Not because he was cruel, not because he was distant, but because he refused to abandon himself in order to be loved, and that is power. You see, most men chase love like it's oxygen. They beg for one more chance. They tolerate disrespect. They stay in relationships that diminish them, just to avoid being alone. But not the Stoic man. He doesn't fear solitude. He fears self-betrayal. He's not afraid to walk away from beauty, from affection, from even deep emotional connection, if it costs him his peace, his values, or his self-respect. And when a woman feels that level of detachment, not coldness but clarity, it hits differently. She realizes that no matter how much she cries, tempts, or pleads, he won't stay where he doesn't belong. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much about the man he's becoming. That kind of strength awakens something primal. It tells her, this man can't be controlled. This man can't be manipulated. This man is free, and freedom is the rarest currency in love. It's easy to stay, it's courageous to leave, to let go when something or someone no longer aligns. To say, I love myself more than I need you to love me. This doesn't push women away, it pulls the right ones closer. Because when a woman sees that you can walk away, she starts to fear losing you. And that fear often turns into fascination. She doesn't want a man who's always available. She wants a man who chooses her freely, intentionally, without need. And when you're willing to leave what doesn't serve you, you become the one she never forgets. Now you see the truth. Women don't fall for the loudest man, or the richest, or the most charming. They fall for the man who is rooted, grounded, unmoved, a man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and doesn't bend just to be chosen. They fall for the man they can't control, because he's already mastered himself. That's what Stoicism builds. Not coldness, but control. Not detachment, but direction. Not arrogance, but alignment. This video wasn't about tricks or tactics. It was about truth. The kind of truth that doesn't need validation because it's lived, not spoken. So if you're ready to stop chasing approval, to stop performing, to stop needing love to feel worthy, then become the man whose presence speaks louder than his words. Become the man who walks in purpose, in silence, in stillness, not for her, but for you, because when you do, she won't just notice, she'll remember.